Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make this crime scene tumbler with 3D handprints. It turned out really awesome and it was actually super easy to do. Alright, so we're going to be starting off with a prepped and sanded tumbler. Then I'm going to go into my Cricut design space, and I've already uploaded a handprint that I found on Google. So I'm just going to put that in there and resize that to better size that I think will fit on the tumbler. And then I just duplicated that and made another one. And then you're going to see me just duplicate those again and make them a little bit bigger just to have some variety on the cup. Alright, so once I cut those out on my Cricut, I just went ahead and stuck those onto the tumbler, and I just kind of spaced them out kind of randomly on the cup, but I did leave enough room in between them to put in the crime scene tape that you're going to see me put on later. Okay, so once I have my handprints where I want them on the tumbler, I'm going to go ahead and take my hot glue gun and just start going over all of the vinyl. One thing I learned is you do want to try to make sure you go over the edges of the vinyl a little bit, kind of overlap it, because once we get the spray paint on there, sometimes it does have a tendency to want to lift up a little bit, and that will show under the spray paint. You also want to try to avoid any strings from the hot glue gun. So you can see right there, there was one. They're not too hard to peel off, but just try to kind of go back on the line that you just did instead of pulling straight up, and you'll avoid a lot of those strings from the hot glue gun. Alright, so now I've got all of the handprints done. I'm going to go ahead and just spray paint the whole cup white. I'm just going to go right over those handprints so you get that 3D effect. Next, I'm going to take some epoxy. I have 30 milliliters mixed up, and I'm going to mix in just a little bit of this diamond dust, the Perfect White by It's Pretty Personal. And that's just going to give a really pretty sparkle to the epoxy, but not an actual glitter look. So I just put in a little bit. This is what it looked like when it was all mixed up. And then I'm just going to go over and spread that all over my tumbler. Okay, so once I have that all over the tumbler, I'm just going to hit it with my heat gun to get that epoxy evened out a little bit. And then I'm going to go in and I'm just going to sand around the top of the tumbler. I just use a sanding block, and you want to get a fine line of stainless steel so the next layers of epoxy have something to hold on to. Right, and then we're going to use some alcohol ink. I just used the color Crimson for the blood splatter on the tumbler, and what I did is I just put that in a little medicine cup that I usually mix my epoxy in, and then I took this paintbrush and I just dipped it in there, and then it's going to be kind of out of frame, but I just tapped the back of the paintbrush so it started to splatter on the cup. This does make quite a mess, so it probably would have been better to do outside because it did kind of splash back, gets on your clothes, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's messy, but it does give you a really cool look. So once you have that all over the cup like you want it, then you're just going to let that dry. I did not let mine dry long enough. I'd probably wait at least overnight. You don't have to seal it, but mine, it just wasn't dry enough, so it did end up smearing a little bit under the epoxy, but honestly it didn't really bother me. But like I said, you're just going to go over with another next time I would definitely just I did do another 30 milliliters of epoxy. I didn't add anything to this one, it was just plain epoxy. So you're going to put that all over the cup and let that dry. And then in the next clip, you're going to see how that ink did smear a little bit on my cup. I think I only let it dry 3 or 4 hours. You should definitely let it dry at least overnight. Right, so next we're going to go back to Design Space, and I just made a square shape. I made that 11.5 inches by 0.75 inches, and then I put in a text box, typed in crime scene, do not cross, and I made that in Arial bold font, and then I made that bold. And then I'm just going to kind of size that to where it fits on that shape pretty nicely. You're going to see later on in the cup that it kind of overlaps a little bit. It's a little bit too long for the cup, but I kind of like how that looks. So we're just going to go ahead and take the yellow tape and put that on the tumbler however you want. I just made mine cross a little bit at the bottom, but you're just going to put that on and smooth it out as much as you can. You can pop any bubbles with a pin. So I just smoothed that out as much as I could, and then when I got to the top and bottom rims, I just pulled that vinyl as hard as I could and cut off the excess. And then I just put the other one on there as well. Now for the words, I did go on the second piece of yellow vinyl that we placed. I'm going to put the words on that one first because that is the piece of tape that's going over the other one. So then right here, since the cup was curving, I did just have to cut it and replace the second part of that just so we would have a straight line of text. And then I just cut off the excess that would go onto the bottom of the cup. And then I put the other words on the other way, and I just put it on all at once. And then I cut off the part that crossed. I just cut that extra vinyl off. And you'll see that right here in a second. Yeah, I just cut off the excess from the E, and then I just totally took off the C because it wasn't needed. And then I just did another about 25 milliliters of epoxy over that. I did end up having to go back in with one more thin coat just because it wasn't totally covering the vinyl at the top rim. But once I did that, we were all good to go, and that's all it needed. So again, this is what the tumbler ended up looking like. I really love how it turned out. I think it's perfect for Halloween, and I was super excited about it. And I'm going to go ahead and add in the description of this video what I used on this tumbler just in case you're interested in making it for yourself. And thank you so much for watching.